What's up everyone, this is Dave LeClaire with MakeUseOf.com, and today we are going to take a look at this right here. You can barely see it, it's so small, but this is the SteelSeries Stratus iOS 7 game controller. Now this device connects to your phone via Bluetooth, and it allows you to play games on your iOS device with more traditional control methods. Instead of touchscreen, you have your standard face buttons, you got your joysticks, your D-pad, and you even got some shoulder buttons on the top. Now, as I mentioned, this controller is extremely small, way smaller than your standard game controller. If you've used like an Xbox 360 controller, it's actually 2 inches smaller. So to give it a little perspective, here's an iPhone 5S. It's quite a bit smaller than the phone itself. So holding it in your hand is going to feel a little bit on the strange side because it's so small. And I personally have fairly large hands, so my hands kind of eat this controller for breakfast. But does that mean it's bad? Not necessarily. You can carry it around in your pocket very easily. So that's convenient since it's a device that's meant to be used with your portable phone. You would want a portable controller. You wouldn't want to carry around a big bulky controller. I mean, can you imagine sticking an Xbox 360 controller in your pocket? You probably can't because that would be weird and it wouldn't be very comfortable. So, how does it fare in terms of playing games? Because really, if you're going to spend $80 on a video game controller, that's the ultimate question. Does it play games well? That's what we're going to show you right now. So here you can see we're playing Game Lost Dungeon Hunter 4, and it controls pretty standard, kind of how you would expect it to. Your left stick moves you around, your face buttons cast your different spells and attacks, and it works much like if you were playing a dungeon crawler game on a standard console. Now, the size of the controller did take me a little bit of getting used to while playing the game, but I did eventually grow comfortable with it. I generally prefer offset joysticks, more like how you would see on an Xbox 360 compared to parallel joysticks like a PlayStation controller, but that's a matter of personal preference, and I did get used to that as well. The joysticks are a little bit on the stiff side, even compared to the 360, which has very stiff joysticks. This is actually a little stiffer, almost bordering on too stiff, but they will break in over time if you use them for a while, so it's not the end of the world. The shoulder buttons are laid out a little bit weird because you'll actually see there's 2 shoulder buttons that are smaller and pushed in, but actually I got used to that very quickly and that wasn't even a problem at all. It actually feels pretty good because the controller is so small. It lets you stretch out your fingers and get that little bit of extra range on it. So let's take a closer look at the controller itself. You can see it has 4 face buttons, A, B, X, Y, pretty standard, 2 joysticks, a D-pad, a pause button in the middle, and your 4 shoulder buttons on top. Now it also has a cover that makes it a little bit easier to carry it around in your pocket. Now you can take that cover and put it over the front and it'll prevent you from accidentally turning the controller on and hitting buttons while it's in your pocket. And you can also stick it over the back of the controller to make the controller a little bit thicker so it feels a little more comfortable in your hand. Now this is important because if a controller is too thin, it's not going to feel full in your hand and it's not going to feel quite comfortable. As far as the feel of the buttons, as I mentioned, the joysticks are a little stiff, but they still don't feel bad. The face buttons feel pretty standard, there's nothing really special. And the D-pad is actually better than I would have expected it to be. It feels good for playing games where you need precision control. It definitely gets the job done there. And as I said, the shoulder buttons, they feel pretty good in themselves. So all in all, the hardware itself is actually pretty good. It's very small, which takes a little getting used to, but it actually does feel pretty good for playing games. But the biggest problem with this and all iOS 7 game controllers is that there is just not a lot of games available. So while the hardware itself looks nice and feels nice, the selection of games is fairly limiting and very few of them are free. So on top of the controller itself, you are going to have to pay for most of the games. So that just leaves the $1 million question, or well actually the $80 question as it were in this case. Should you buy the SteelSeries Stratus iOS 7 game controller? Well, it is better than the other iOS 7 game controllers on the market, mainly because it does not wrap around your phone, but instead sits in front of your phone and you hold it freely in your hand and you play. This allows you to use it with an iPad. Now you do lose the battery life that you gain by having a second battery wrapped around and plugged into your phone. That's a worthwhile trade-off of being able to use this with all of your iOS devices. Now it is very small, which will take some getting used to, which we mentioned before, but still, that's a pretty small trade-off and it's not that much smaller than most other controllers you're going to find. And with that smallness, you get the added benefit of it being portable, and the cover that's able to go over the front makes it so you won't hit buttons in your pocket, which is great. So it is a great iOS 7 game controller, but like all of them, it faces the problem of there just aren't enough games out there. There are some decent ones and there's some stuff to play if you want to get away from touchscreen gaming on your phone, but it's not exactly the wide range of games you're going to find on the App Store in all different genres. So that is something to keep in mind, but if you are in the market for an iOS 7 game controller, I would definitely say the SteelSeries Stratus is the one to go with for 80 bucks. It's not a bad deal. Make sure to head over to makeuseof.com to check out the full review and enter for your chance to win this bad boy, and we will see you guys next time.